So last class we have discussed different types of rendering, what is the necessity for rendering, and introduction to a rendering of surface. So this class also a continuation of rendering topic. We are going to discuss different model. Before starting with the discussion, let me show an object and I'll explain with the object, and then I'll move on to the content. Can you able to see the object, what I'm showing?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So you can see already we have discussed that in the case of an rendering, it has to undergo the property that transparency, shadow, lighting effect, all those properties should be satisfied. So when you see this object this way, this object is a transparent object. It's clearly visible to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
When it comes to this portion, when you see this object, you can see the textures. It's repeating. This texture is repeated everywhere, and this is repeating, and the textures are repeating. So when you wanted to create or display a 3D object in this way, you should take care of all these properties: textures, transparency, and also the depth information. Everything you have to take care. So with this, I will be moving on to the different methodologies. Last class we were talking about an polygon rendering method. I think with there are two different types of polygon rendering. Polygon can be rendered two different ways by which each polygon can be rendered, either with a single intensity value or it can have a single intensity or we can have an interpolation technique. So the intensity can be obtained at each point of a surface using an interpolation. In the case of a single intensity, filling the object with a particular color. Suppose you have an object which is a single color, then it is very easy for us to do or fill with a particular color. So example for this is constant intensity shading. Constant intensity shading technique or method is the best example. Some objects you have, it's a 3D object. If you wanted to fill this with some color, then you can make use of a particular color and you can constantly fill each and every pixel with a single color itself. It's very easy to make a single intensity object. When it comes to an interpolation, how we are going to do is with the help of one pixel, we are interpolating the next pixel value. The intensity can be obtained at each pixel of the surface using an interpolation technique. There are two different interpolation techniques or the way by which we are going to obtain the final rendered object. One is an intensity interpolation. Another one is normal vector interpolation. So the intensity interpolations or we can otherwise called as an Goudou shading and the normal interpolation, or we can say it as an fork shading. So I think with this we have ended up with the last class. So from this we are continuing again. So how we are going to give the shading? We are going to discuss these methods 1, 2 and 3. So as I said earlier, the constant intensity shading method isn't very simple. We can shade the objects with the help of whatever intensity we want, we can shade it. Now coming to the second, intensity interpolation, how we are going to render the object. So here in the case of second method, how we are going to render is render a polygon surface by linear interpolation intensity value across the surface. So what are all the steps we need to follow to carry out the linear interpolation so that we can get the rendering effect in the given object? Is the steps is, first we need to determine the average unit normal vector at each polygon vertex. So first step is we are computing a average unit normal vector for each vertex and then apply an illumination model to each vertex to calculate the vertex intensity. Apply illumination model to each vertex to calculate the vertex intensity. And the last is an linearly interpolate vertex intensity over the surface of the polygon. So once we have obtained the vertices, we can easily interpolate it throughout the surface and we can able to get the required rendered object. And in the case of third method, which is an normal vector interpolation, the steps we need to follow is, first step is determine the average unit normal vector at each polygon vector. The step is same as in the case of second, and the second step is linearly interpolate. This step we have to do. Linearly interpolate the vertex normal over the surface of the polygon and then apply illumination model along each scan line to calculate the projected pixel intensity for the surface. Third step is apply illumination model along each scan line to calculate the projected pixel intensity for the surface points. The polygon rendering method isn't one method. The other method that is commonly used is a ray tracing method. Ray tracing method. So instead of finding out the visible surface in each pixels, we are trying to pass a rays. The ray will try to bounce back. With the help of that bounce back rays, we are trying to make a rendering of an object. So this is the logic which is applied here. Let us take a screen projection. Reference point is from here. These are all the pixel position on the projection plane. this is the projection plane, and this is the objects. All objects are there. This is a pixel on the projection plane. So projection reference point, this is a reference point through which we are trying to send a rays. It will hit the object and also it will bounce back. Sphere again, it will hit here and it is bounce back, like that it is. So multiple reflections and transmissions are taking place. So the basic algorithm here is the visible surface detection. The basic algorithm provides visible surface detection, shadow effects, transparency, and multiple light source eliminations. So all the properties will be solved or will be addressed with the help of this ray tracing method. It's a highly realistic, and it's mainly useful when the object is a shiny object. This kind of ray tracing methods will be very much useful. Coming to the algorithmic part, so when first step is we need to determine the ray path. Determine the ray path that passes through the center of each screen pixel positions. So determine the ray path which passes through the each pixel positions from the center of projections. The light rays from the surface in the screen flow in all directions. Obviously, the light rays will move in all the directions. Some will passes through the pixel position in the projected plane, and some may not passes through the projection plane. There are infinite number of rays passes. We determine the yes. Okay. So there are multiple or infinite. Please mute from your side. So we have a multiple races. So we need to determine the contribution to a particular pixel by tracing a light path backward from the pixel to the screen. So there are multiple lines or rays passing through. Whichever line is coming back from the pixel to the screen should be determined. So the simple example, when we have a camera, when we use the camera, normal camera, in that case, we are viewing a screen through a hole or a shutter which is available there, by which we can able to trace out. So we are determining a contribution to a particular pixel by yes, what do you want? I'm getting a noise from your side. Please mute yourself. So for each pixel rays, we have to test each surface in the screen to determine if it is intersected by the ray or not. So what is the test we are performing here is for each surface in the screen to determine if it is intersected by ray or not. So if the surface is intersected, then we need to calculate. If surface is intersected, then we need to calculate. What we are going to calculate is calculate the distance from the pixel to the surface intersection point. Calculate the distance between the pixel and the surface intersection point. So smallest calculated intersection distance identifies the visible surface for that pixel. Is the logic is clear? So we are passing a ray and we are trying to find out which is the most contributed ray, for which we are finding out a test. While testing is, we are computing a distance between the pixel and the surface of intersection. Yeah, the smallest value indicates a visible surface. Those surface should be visible to the person whoever is viewing. So that should be given with rendered with proper rendered informations. If the surface is, this is intersection, again if the surface is intersected, this is the case. The second category is if the surface is transparent. So in that case also we need to send the rays through the surface in the refracted direction. The reflection refraction rays are referred as secondary rays. The procedure should be repeated for each secondary rays. The objects are what is the procedure we are repeating for all the secondary rays, for each secondary rays. The objects are tested for intersection and the nearest surface along the secondary ray path is used to recursively produce the next generation of reflection and refraction path. As the rays from the pixels are bounced back to the screen, each successive intersected surface is added to a binary ray tree. So we are going to construct a ray tree with the, what we are doing is we are passing a rays and we are trying to compute the test we are following, whether it is intersected or a transparent. Based on that we are going to construct a tree. So what is the tree? The tree is called binary ray tree, binary ray tracing tree. So in that binary ray tracing tree, what it is going to have is, it has the surface information and the left side has the reflection path, information about the reflection path, and the right side of the tree has transmission path. So this will be extended, the path, the tree will be extended with the example. I will show you a tree. One minute. So let us consider this is the projection, a reference point, and we have a surface S1. and screens S1, S2 and S3 are the different screens we have, and the ray is passing here and it is transmitted and reflected by this is R2, and the reflection for this is R1, transmission, reflection R3, like that it is there. So with this reflection and reflection rays passes through the screen. For a screen position, we are constructing a tree called binary ray tracing tree. So the tree is going to have the informations about reflection and the transmission path of S1 is these two things, and R1 again it goes to S3. From S3 it has R3 and T3. So here from S1 the transmission goes to S2, R2 and T2. Like that it will be constructed. So this is a tree we have constructed for this. Now the intensity assigned to each pixel. What will be the intensity which is assigned to each pixel? So we need to determine the accumulated intensity contribution, that is from the starting at the terminal node of its ray tracking tree. We are going to compute the information. The information is an accumulated intensity contribution. We are determining the accumulation intensity contribution. The surface intensity from each node in a tree is attenuated by a distance from its parent surface and added to the intensity of the parent surface. Finally, the pixel intensity is the sum of the attenuated intensity at the root node of the ray tree. No surfaces intersected by the pixel ray, then the tree will be empty. The pixel is assigned with the background intensity. So as I started with the example, with the object, so you can see that, you can imagine that object. Let me show once. So this is now the screen. You can consider background, you can leave it off. So we have the object here. So when we compute it, if there is no refraction, then these information will be the background information. Only this region you are going to render the object. So by this way, each and every pixel can be colored with some information. And now we have discussed two different methods for rendering. One is in polygon rendering method. The other method is an array tracing method. So with this information, we cannot able to give a realistic object, or we cannot create. Our aim of our rendering is to create an realistic display, 3D display of any object with the help of shading rendering and lighting effect. With that we are going to provide it, but these algorithm whatever we have discussed, it just talks about what will be the intensity for a particular pixel value. So to make more realistic object, we need to move forward. One more concepts are it's called as an surface detail should be included. So there are different surface detail models are available. We will discuss those models, and finally with the help of these things you can able to generate a good 3D rendered objects. First, there are different maps we are going to discuss with respect to this maps. First is an environmental map. So in the case of environmental map, you have an object. Let us take the objects are here. Some objects are specified. We have some backgrounds and let some backgrounds are there. So while you render this object, or some buildings or something is there, all the information should be, the background information should be available as such, so that it will give a realistic information. Only if you are concentrating on this object, the remaining portions, if you are not concentrating, that will not provide you a realistic effect. So environmental map will provide you the informations or the whatever background object that is there. All those environmental information should be reside as such, and then it will provide you a detailed or realistic display. And we are going to add some more, and normal map is there. Another one is a normal map. We have a 3D color, RGB color model is available. The RGB, from the RGB information, we are trying to generate a 3D objects. The RGB informations are corresponding to X, Y, Z plane, 3D plane informations. We are correlating those RGB information into an X, Y, Z 3D plane that produces a normal map. And apart from this, there are some more maps are available. Depth map, texture map. So when you deal with the softwares or the tools, then these informations will be very much useful. How it is working, the working principle we are studying here. In next unit, we will be discussing about how we can produce the different maps. Bump map, and last one is frame map. So these maps provides additional surface details. It provides you the additional surface details. For adding some surface detail. So we will be talking about these maps and the methodology which is adapted for this. So let us consider one example. Four-way lane is there, highway lane is there. So when you generate this four-way lane, what are all the consideration you have to consider? It should have a markings, all the boundaries should be marked, and the separator, divided, everything should be marked. All those information should be present accurately, so that it will provide you a realistic display. So we need to take into the consideration all the information based on the object. All the information should be counted into the account, into the procedure of generating the rendering model. So for example, our bricks are there. some brick structures are there, or a wall is there, or tiles are there, mosaics are there, floorings are informations are available. All those informations should be provided properly, and then you can able to render it clearly. Once it is rendered, you have to then only you can get the feel of a realistic display. Is it clear what is the need for a map?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now we are moving on to the different kinds of map, how we are going to use these maps. So the main purpose is to make it very clear. The depth map, we are talking about the depth map. In the case of a depth map, as we know that depth indicates the Z component or the depth information of a 2D object. If 2D images are present, that we can make use of a 3D object with the help of a 2D. 2D images that can uses an illuminant value to create a 3D object. In such cases, we can go for a depth map. If you have only 2D information, you can add the illuminance value, which is a lighting value, intensity value, so that you can able to create a 3D object. Coming to the texture map, it estimates the geometric or a color details, and also it indicates a fine informations of an object. Bump maps are useful for when it is on rough surfaces. For example, if you have a orange, you wanted to display a orange. So in that cases, the surface is not a smooth surface, it's a rough surface. In such cases, to make it a more realistic, we need to go for a bump maps. And the frame maps, it's an extension of bump map. It uses a vertical and horizontal surface variations. Now coming to the texture map, how we are going to make a texture. So we can call it as a texture map or texture mapping. There are two different ways by which we can generate a texture map. One is map texture pattern, and the second way is procedural texture method. In the first one, map texture pattern, adding the surface detail to a map texture pattern onto the surface of the object. The main purpose is we are going to add some surface detail to the map texture pattern. To carry out this, it has the text mapping has two different ways by which we can perform this operation. The one way is instead of before explaining this, I'll just draw a block diagram that will easy to explain those two ways by which we can generate the texture maps. We have different phases, that is texture space and object space, image space. So it's either you can start with texture space and you can make an image space, or vice versa, we can do it. So in between texture phase to object phase, we can call the intermediate step as a texture surface transformations. And between object to image, we can call it as an viewing and projection transformation. So already we have discussed this portion, viewing and projection. Already we have discussed it. So here the object space, the objects are represented as a surface. So UV is the surface parameter. And in image space, it's represented as an pixel information or pixel coordinate. Let X and Y be the pixel coordinate. And when it comes to texture space, it's S and T or the array coordinates. Texture map is accompanied in two ways. Either we can go for map the texture pattern to the object space and then to the projected plane. This is one way. The second methodology is, it's a reverse case. Map a pixel area onto the object surface and then to the texture surface. These are all the two ways by which we can perform the operations or generating a texture maps. So mapping from this mapping, which is the first red line mapping, is called as an texture to object, and then image is called as an texture scanning. Similarly, image to object and then texture space is called as an inverse scanning, or we can call it as an pixel order scanning or image order scanning. Mapping from texture phase to an object phase is specified with set of parametric linear function. So U and V are the coordinates surface parameters. So S and T is the array coordinates of a texture space. So the parametric linear function is object to image space mapping is accompanied with the concatenation of viewing and projection transformation. Already we have discussed. This is from texture to object, and the next step is object to image space. That is done with the help of viewing and projections. So this methodology, that is mapping from texture to pixel phase, has some disadvantage. So the reverse case is mainly the commonly used. That is the second methodology. The disadvantage is the selected texture pattern usually doesn't match up with the pixel boundary. Therefore, it required some more calculations to make the pixels converge. So extra calculations are required when we perform from texture to image or a pixel space. So the reverse case, what we are going to do is, we have an object image space and the surface and this is the texture space. It's a projected object, projected pixel area. Inverse viewing projection plane. This is image space. This is surface plane, and this is inverse texture map transformation. Finally, it will produce as a texture space. It's just a rectangular array pattern here in texture space. So the object projected pixel area in which the projected pixels will be projected off. So this is commonly used because the problem previous case, when we move from this to this, there may be a problem of matching with the pixel with the texture character. So it is not commonly used because it requires extra calculation. To avoid that extra calculation, the reverse pattern is used. The second method is an procedural texture method. I'll complete this alone, and then later we will discuss about the other methods. In the case of an procedural texture method, it uses a procedural definition of an color variations. So based on the color variations, we can able to provide texture information. So the intermediate, in the previous case, we have used viewing and projection transformations, surface transformations. All those transformations are not required in the case of procedural texturing method. So it is very easy. So when we have a solid objects, then it is easy to make a solid texture. So the values from the texture space are transformed to an object surface using some procedural method. We are not going to deal more detailed about the procedural methods. So we have suppose some marble patterns or some wooden patterns, or as I told you the previous example, I have showed you a paperweight. In that you have a patterns. In those cases, this kind of procedural texturing method will be very much useful. The random variation in the marble texture can be attained by superimposing a noise function onto a harmonic variation to produce a final result. With the help of some noise, if you add it, you can able to get those informations. So three more maps are still pending that we will discuss in the next class.